another episode of the Going Over podcast. And just like the greatest technical performer out there right now, Paul, let's run it back. And we're going to run it back because I am your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, and promoter extraordinaire. 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. It's right there, guys. Tatted up on my forearms like my license plates. And I am joined alongside, as always, with my podcast partner, Mr. Consistency, Mr. Boomtown, Nevada's favorite son, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Tall, Isadora. Paul, how you doing today, brother? I'm sorry, this morning, brother.
Oh, man, I'm doing fantastic. Just another, man, it's kind of crazy, man, but I just got done working another, 55 or 57-hour week, and we went to a play last night at one of the high school theaters, and I saw a kid that used to play basketball for me, and I was like, damn, man, I didn't even know this kid was in theater, and he killed it. And then he comes out afterwards, and I just dap him up and give him a big hug and stuff, and said that was awesome and stuff. And my daughter goes, Dad, you don't even care. You just hugged that guy like no one else was around. And I was like, yeah, because it's a congratulatory thing. It's not like I'm hugging the guy because I'm trying to, have an affair with him or something. I was like, I'm giving this kid a hug because, he was one of my players. It's just like, you're getting outside of your comfort zone. And as I'm watching this theater, I'm like, man, this is their pro wrestling, right? They're going out there and they're getting the pop and all this different stuff. And I was just so excited for the kid, man. He just killed it, man. So I was like, I thought that was really cool and stuff. And then on my way home, we were talking about, my wife's like, are you podcasting in the morning? And I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it at 6. Like, what does Zach do for work? And I just go, oh, he runs a professional wrestling company. She's like, that's all he does? And I was like, yeah, that's all he does. Like, how awesome would that be to not be at work for nearly 60 hours a week, and that you could just like, okay, I'm gonna focus on growing this to be something special. So obviously I sent you some thoughts on, just thinking way outside the box and seeing what your thoughts were, if that was something that could work. And so I don't know. I was just tired, I don't know.
I did not. I thought, but I did not know when I was looking at that. I was like, you were saying every other week or every week?
I was thinking like every other week. Like, I don't know how often Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, I don't know how often they record, and I don't know what television networks they're on, but once a month.
Oh God, yeah. And it was brutal, man. It was brutal. Rob Hands, bro. Right. It was Bobby Burger Hands did down there. Yeah, I went down there once, and I believe Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch were like the big guys down there when I went. The Young Bucks were there. Me and Derek Sanders wrestled them. But you were down there all day. I went down there with Gabe, and I think Ollie went down, and we were down there, and it was like a 15, 16, it was like a full day. It was like a real day's work, and it's in the studio and they film it. So it's not a big fan of studio wrestling, man. Not a big fan of traveling to other countries. Kind of just like you said, where you said your wife asked you, like, what do I do? And it's like, this is what I've conditioned my life to do. I remember the last girl I was seeing, I told her one morning, I said, what do you, you're always on that phone. I'm like, what are you doing? And you just what you do, you're always on it. And I didn't mean it bad, but I was just asking, like, what do you, I don't care who you're talking to or anything, but like, you're just always on that thing. Cause I would say something to her and it'd be like, huh? And then I would start saying like dumb shit, like it smells like a fart from your vagina. You know what I mean? I would say stuff like that. And she's like, huh? And she's like, well, you're always on your phone. And I'm like, I worked my entire adult life to create a job where I can wake up, do stuff like this, talk to my talent on the phone. And it sounds weird, right? Like people are like, yeah, whatever, Zach. But no, I really talk to my talent on the phone all day. And I work Monday through Wednesday. So whatever town I'm in, which I'm lucky enough not to have to promote the Red Bluff events, which when we expand to Reading, I won't have to do that either, because that's Arsonist and Don Stockton and those guys, the Red Bluff crew. But I am consistently Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, and sometimes on the weekends too. And I set that up because the only way that I can promote, especially if I'm promoting multiple shows, is Monday through Wednesday, from 11. I'm in the town starting at 11, and then at 2, I'm done, right? Sometimes I go a little more, but I got training Thursday and I got training Sunday. And I do that because, like, next week, we're going to be in West Sac on Friday. Then we're going to be in Urington, and then training on Sunday. And I got training on Thursday. That's 4 in a row. And then the weekend after that, it's here in town. And then it's Winnemucca, right? So I set my schedule up. So Monday through Wednesday, I'm working, putting in, 3 to 4 hours a day doing this out there by the time I get to the place, so that I don't have to worry about doing it on the weekend. The weekend's not for promotion, even though I'm always promoting. So yeah, it sounds funny. It sounded funny when you said that. You were like, oh, that's what Zach does. And it's like, you got to dedicate yourself to that. You know what I mean? And it could have failed on me when I did it, but it's just kind of where it's at, man. You're doing down there, you're building the team, and it's like everybody wants to do. And sometimes, and I hate to say this, I don't hate to say it, but sometimes that dead end job that you think is what's paying your bills, sometimes that's what's actually holding you back.
Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that, because we were kind of talking about that whole scenario. It's like, he runs a training school twice a week, right? Twice a week, every single week, they're training, right? It's like, if you have the ability to do that, obviously I'm in a little different situation with family life and job and coaching and just all the things that kind of occupy time in my life, right? Where it's just like, if I didn't have these other things that I prioritized at a higher level than wrestling training, then that, that could be something that I was doing as well. I could be like, all right, well, every, Thursday, Sunday, or whatever days, right? It could be these 2 days. These are the days we're just training, right? And then it's like, that's the way that you're able to build your, clientele, or whatever you want to call it, in a business sense. You're trying to put together these students, and the only way you're going to be able to really get the school going is if you're like, I am consistently here these 2 days of the week from these hours to these hours. And obviously for you, it's based off of how everything is going, right? If everything's going awesome and you're you guys are getting a lot of stuff accomplished, sometimes your sessions go 4 or 5 hours, so you plan on it being a couple hours, and then you just, it's this passion that we have, and it's like all of a sudden 4 or 5 hours have gone, and you're just like, shit, where did the time go? But we got so much accomplished with training, right? So I think that's it's something that obviously you have to have the time, the dedication, and things like that. You think about the commitment it takes for some of these guys that they go to these 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, where they're training 5 days a week with a Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins or, Jacobs, Pritchard, all these different places that these people pay and go. And I guess my expectation when someone comes back from one of these things is, they're going to be so much more polished, right? They're going to be a great promo. They're going to understand psychology. They're going to be having such better matches. They're going to be they're going to understand the importance of being in great shape and all these things. And, and then you realize, like, a lot of times this is, it's celebrity pro wrestling training, right? They're going to, not like the schools are not trying to, get guys to be good, but it's like, they're only gonna, just like us, you're only gonna do so much, right? You're gonna tell these people, hey, you gotta work on your psychology. Hey, you gotta work on your promo. Hey, you gotta work on your body. Your understanding of this pro wrestling is not where it needs to be, and they're trying to give you some ideas of how to get there. But at some point, it's like, all right, well, this guy's paid me the money. I'm going to do the best job I can. But, you're not going to kill yourself trying to get this guy to live out his dream, right? It's not my dream to make this guy a pro wrestler. It's his dream to become a pro wrestler. And if they're not going to do the things that it takes to get to that level, then, I don't want to say you wash your hands, but it's like, hey, I'm doing the best I can for this guy. But obviously they're not understanding what they need to be doing versus what they think they should be doing.
Well, you said a lot of things right there, but what are you going to regurgitate? What are you going to pick up in that short of time? I mean, a lot of these guys are actually moving to the place and they're paying this incredible fee, $3,000 to $6,000 for sometimes a week, sometimes a couple months, 6 weeks or whatever of training. You're not going, no matter if you cram for that test, you're not going to pick that up. People just aren't going to put all that into their brain. That's why we're always learning at this. That's why after going on 27 years, I'm still learning and I still think of new things and come up with new stuff and hear stuff and go, that's wrong, that's right. Because you can't, like, training 5 days a week, or I run 2 days because there's no point, there's no point in doing that. We wrestle on the weekends and then you train twice a week and then you're going to the gym and promoting and doing stuff like that. Your body just physically can't do that. Like, if you were to train 3 to 4 days a week, like really put in 3 to 4 hard days of training a week, you would be so fucked in your head by the third day. The third day, you get tired of it. You get tired of doing this thing. And a lot of this stuff is practicing on your own. Wrestling the ghost. A lot of stuff that I come up with and figure out, or move along or alter is from just sitting in the house by myself, doing promos by myself. And you can tell the talent that does not do that. There's so much talent that just, they go to the training. That's why it's like, when you first started that, you were like, man, we're going to do 4 days. And I was like, can you do 4 days? It's like, if you can't commit to 4 days, you're not going to get these guys to commit to 4 days. And sometimes you can feed it all to them in a day. They could come to 1 day of training. It's what, as a coach, because I don't consider myself a trainer, as a coach, can I coach this person throughout the week? And luckily I have the time to do that. I can call these guys up on the phone. There's 30, 40 team members and students, and I can call them up and I can individually talk to these guys and bounce from conversation to conversation. So I can verbally coach throughout the week to these guys and give them that time too. I give them stuff to watch. I mean, I saw a spot the other day in our homework assignment, which I'm excited about today. It was, I don't know if it was from Santino or one of those places, but they just grabbed a headlock and ran him off the ropes and hit a tackle. There was no emotion. There was no facial expression. And then they ran, at least they ran straight off the other rope. And then it was the old drop down. And then they did a leapfrog. And then they turned around and they were standing there already knelt over with their hands out like this, waiting for the guy to come off the rope to hit a backdrop. And I said, all right, I put that in the group and I said, all right, here's the spot. Now I want you guys to watch this and I want you to create this spot, but where I want you to wrestle from the clinch and the 2-on-1 and whatever you want to do to change, just keep one guy, keep going back to the clinch and one guy keep grabbing the 2-on-1. And I want that tackle, but I want emotion. And whether the guy hits and feeds back up into you or bumps and you cover him and he kicks out and comes back up into you, I want that same spot, but I don't want you to tackle and just run off the rope for a drop down. And then I want you to start thinking, the leapfrog, do we have to run over it? Because I can think of a million times I've gone up for a leapfrog and Oliver Johns waited there for me to come down and started chopping me in the chest. And it's like, so I'm like, you could leapfrog, stop in front of the leapfrog, headlock takeover, arm drag, drop toe hold, hip toss them, backdrop them, body slam them. You don't have to run under the leapfrog. And if you do run under the leapfrog, maybe you can stop. You know, there's all kinds of things. There's schoolboy roll-ups. There's inside cradles that could come out of stopping at the leapfrog. You could suplex them and they could inside cradle you. So I gave all my guys, I said, I want you to watch this spot. And if anybody runs this spot exactly verbatim as it is, then you get out of the fucking ring because you're not paying attention. So I'm kind of excited about today because I've really been adamant about this. Like we had Phil in the group and he's just and he's doing the Phil thing, right? I'm gonna fucking, don't you fucking tell me I quit because I'm stubborn. And I'm like, man, I don't care if you're stubborn. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care any of that. If you ain't showing up and putting in the work and you can't do it, it don't matter how stubborn you are. If you were stubborn, and this ain't a knock on him, sorry about this rant, but if you were stubborn, you would put in the work. Because that's what stubborn people do. That's what people who everybody thinks can't do it, that's what they do. They prove you wrong. It's like he went on this run and was putting these promos in the group. And it was like, I was just like, dude, shut the fuck up. I'm like, cool, man. You went on a run and he put on like, it looked like he had like chainmail on or something. I thought he was going to the park to go LARPing. You know what I mean? I thought he was going to do some LARPing, but it's like, cool, man. You ran 3 miles. So you did 1 day of exercise. Now come back at me undocumented when you do 364 more, right?
Yeah, that's I don't know. I was thinking as you're talking about the spot, and then you're like, if somebody comes and does that spot verbatim, I was like, that means they put absolutely no fucking thought into this at all. You know, you're talking about, you know, these guys going to these places, and you know, then it's like, you know, you're not doing stuff outside of your wrestling training to try to get better, and it relates perfectly for me to basketball. Like we constantly tell the kids, like, hey, listen, you're not going to get a whole lot better by just coming to practice twice a week for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever. You're going to have to do this outside of those hours. You're going to have to spend time, you know, wherever you can find a basket to work on these things. You're going to have to spend time with your basketball doing ball handling drills. You're going to have to spend time, you know, with your jump rope or or jumping back and forth over a line or whatever, working on some sort of agility stuff. It is not, you're not going to become the basketball player that you want to become by just coming to practice twice a week, right? You're going to have to do some stuff on your own to try to get your game to the next level. So it definitely relates perfectly to pro wrestling. You know, it's like, if you are not, you know, like you say, if you're not throwing the punches against the string, if you're not throwing kicks against the string, if you're not, you know, working on getting up off the mat, like I feel like there's so many things that while we're in training, I'm telling people like, hey, you could be laying on your floor and like, hey, this is how your body should feel when you land on the mat, right? Your feet down and your palms down and all these different things. It's like, you don't know how many times I was laying on my floor and my wife is going, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just working on, this is how it's supposed to feel when I land on the mat. You know, what are you doing? Well, this is the way that they told me to get up. You know, if I just took a bump, this is how I'm supposed to feed up to the next thing. And I'm just working on it over and over and over. You know, but that's just what I had to do in basketball, right? It's like, you know, well, we went over this stuff in practice today. So I'm at home working on it on my own basket, or I'm on, you know, at home with my basketball, working on some dribbling stuff that we worked on in practice that day. Cause I knew, you know, I wasn't going to get better just with those couple sessions a week or, you know, an hour and a half each day at practice. I had to go above and beyond that if I wanted to get to this goal of, you know, making a living playing a sport. So, and I know everyone is not focused on making a living at pro wrestling. Some people are doing it as a weekend thing, and it's just for fun. Like, I've always watched wrestling and I just wanted to get into it or whatever. But regardless, whatever your motivation is, even if you're that quote unquote weekend warrior, don't you want to be the best weekend warrior you could possibly be? Like, don't you want to put as much effort into this as possible? And, you know, you think about the Tim Thatcher story where it's like, you know, he didn't think that he could be a pro wrestler. He just was going to start off being a referee. And then, you know, you put so much work into getting good at that. Then you go, oh shit, maybe I should be a wrestler. And then you put so much work into getting good at that. And then you get to the point where now you're making a living doing this thing that you probably, maybe you didn't think you could do as a living, but you're just a hard worker. You're going to put the time in and you're going to get to that level. Obviously, you can think about a guy like Tim was, you know, in great shape, high work, you know, work ethic is there, all these things, right?
Rowing.
Yeah, on the rowing team. So yeah. But yeah, so that's just, you have to have that mentality, you know, just to be good, you know, and I think that that's why we get so many of these videos that we send back and forth to each other with like, what are they doing? You know, you're talking about a spot that you watched from someone's wrestling training school. And it's like, you know, I don't know. It's, for me, it's like, I'm trying to teach people not just how to do a drill, but what are you doing in this drill? How does it relate to a pro wrestling match? Like, you know, and those are those perfect opportunities to, you're not only going over the mechanics of what you're doing in the actual spot, but that's your opportunity to throw the emotions in there, right? You know, what would you be doing if you were doing this particular spot in a match? You know, like, let's add the facials and the selling and all the different things. Let's put that in there. Let's not be robotic and just going through the motions of the spot, you know. And you know, I think about that all the time when it's basketball related stuff. Like, you know, you're doing this because you're trying to get the defender to do this so you can do this. Like, you know, it's this string of events and reacting to different scenarios, you know. And it's exactly the same in pro wrestling. It's like, you're reacting to the fans, your opponent, the referee. Like you're having to ad lib all these different things, and that's why we harp so much on don't choreograph your match, because you don't know all the different components that are going to potentially change, whatever spot or whatever sequence you think you're going to do. You've got all these outside influences and factors that you have to take into account, and now you have to react on the fly to what's going on. So that's something that's a huge thing.
Well, you just said it right there when you're talking about the choreography, right? It's not that we can't talk about what we want to do. It's this formula. I was talking yesterday to Arsonist, and we were talking I said, put this together, right? Put this match together. And when he said, all right, I got it. And it was a couple days and he said, I got it. I said, all right. I said, but not the moves, right? He's like, no. And I started listening to it, and it was about you know what I mean? It was like, I just want to know, okay, if I'm looking at a match, the moves are going to come and they're going to fit in perfectly, but we have to look at a psychology, right? We got to say, okay, here's Big Paul, here's Prime Time. Okay, here's how the match is going to go. Here's the body of the match. Paul is 7 feet tall, 300 plus pounds. I am 5'11", 220 pounds, which I'm a pretty, burly, stout guy. But I'm not going to wrestle you. I'm not going to hit you with arm ringers, hammer locks, headlocks. It's just not going to work for me. So I am going to stick and move. Even if you catch a hold of me, I'm trying to get away from you, because just like when you came in, so the psychology, the body of it is, I got to move, and I don't want to lock up with you. I don't want to be anywhere near you're bigger. And then even if you catch me, I'm still trying to get away, but you're eventually going to stop me, right? And when you do, well, special referees, whatever's coming involved, managers, if it's just me and you, body of the story, I want to get away from you. I want to stick in. I don't want you, but you're going to grab me. You're going to get a hold of me. You're going to stop me. Now I'm going to go through the heat and getting beat up. And then you are going to, if the scenario calls for a non-squash, you are going to miss something and make a mistake. And that's when I'm going to open up and I'm going to get my chance. And now you can look at that and go, okay, this is who's winning? Okay, here's the psychology of me and Paul. Who gives a fuck what the time is? And now you can start to think about what you're going to do in that scenario. What am I going to hit you with? What's going to open up for me here? Where are you going to throw me? What move are you going to miss? How am I going to open up and give it everything I got for my one opportunity? And we were talking about the match before. We're like, it was the Unwanted versus the Gator Boys. And I said, Bobby Bayou's big. He's athletic. He's fast. I said, Brian Joseph's really good technically on the mat, and he's good worker. Good little worker, right? A lot of energy. So I told Christian and Brandon, I said, small guy in first, work around. Big guy comes in, gets the better of you guys with no damage whatsoever, tags smaller guy back in. You guys cut him. Right? Stop him. Put the heat on him. Hey, don't die. Hot tag to the big guy. He comes in, steamrolls everybody. Little guy tags back in. That's who the finish happens on. Now, did I say any wrestling moves in that?
None.
Zero. Because that's the psychology of the story we're telling in that tag match. So now you as the performer, you go, oh, what do you do? Oh, what do you guys do together? Oh, this is what we do. Now you can put the moves in. You have to get the finish, right? Who's winning? The match doesn't matter if we don't know who's winning. If we don't know the finish, and especially if the finish doesn't have a fucking purpose, then we can't put the match together. I need to know the psychology of the match. I don't need to know 75-25 because that's not real. That's just shit we say, like we want to act like we 80-20. Oh, cool. Whatever that means. I don't know. I don't know what 80% of a match is. I don't think anybody really does. But we have to go, okay, who's winning? And here's the psychology. Here's the story of the match. No moves. Just what's my finish? Where are we going with this finish? Here's the story we're telling with no moves involved. And once we all are on the same page and understand what this thing is going to be like that, then we can start to add our stuff into it. You know what I mean? And we have to have a purpose for why we're doing this. Even if it's just to get a guy a squash win, we have to have a purpose why we're doing this, because he has to know what his attitude is coming into this match. He has to know where he's going. I'm getting a squash match, dominant victory. So I need to present myself like this is going to be a dominant victory. I need to cut my promo back afterwards or before, in the ring, whatever, into the camera with no microphone. I need to cut it because this is the mindset I'm in, is that tonight I'm special, right? And that's the problem with matches, is everybody wants to like, here's the moves I want to do. I put together this match with the moves. Well, what's the story you're going to tell in this match? And everyone goes, oh, I'm going to work his arm and he's going to, no, just like, what's the body of the story? Who's winning? First off, okay, this guy's winning. How is he winning? Okay. And I don't mean what the finish, is he going over clean? Is it dirty? You know, what is it? Just tell me how I'm winning, who's good, who's bad. And then now we can come up with the finish. And then once we've come up with the finish, now we can look at the match and go, okay, you're bad, I'm good, I'm winning. Okay, here's the story I want to tell. And then once we understand from start to finish this without the moves, because we got the finish, then we can add the moves. And nobody's doing that. We're so conditioned to go, I'm going to out wrestle you, but they don't know how to wrestle. And I don't mean, and that's the problem too, I think, big palsy is, I don't think people understand, I don't give a shit if you are a technical wrestler or not. I just want you to know how to lock up. I want you to know how to grab a headlock, shoot off for a tackle. Like I was watching the video that Dale Clifford put up, and I was watching my promo in the ring. And I was watching Sergio, and Sergio's sporadic and talks over fans, and he's really hard to hear, even though he's talking loud. And then I was watching me talk to Jeffrey Excellence in the ring, and it was very slow and I gave him time to react. I gave the audience time to react. When they would even talk over me, I would stop and then continue my sentence. There was one time a fan yelled, "He doesn't need anybody." And I still stayed looking at him, and I responded to the fan. I said, "Oh, he better need somebody. He's going to need somebody." But I never looked at the fan. I never broke character. And then I was watching when I was selling for all you guys. You came in and you hit me in the stomach, and I oversold it. I oversold everything. I never died. I never kept my head down, but I made you, Illumide, and Jeffrey's shots count. So it looked like, it's like we say, the baby face sells like he's trying to get over the pain, and the heel sells like, oh, I can't bear the pain. And that's what we're doing out there.
That's exactly right. I was obviously you're talking about all these different parts of putting a match together versus, and I don't know, you have the guys that they have their uh I guess, for lack of a better thing, like their 5 moves of doom. Like, oh, I gotta get these cool moves that I like to do. I have to get these in there somewhere. And instead of going, hey, what's the story that we're trying to tell? The overall, like, obviously, as you start telling, the story of me and you, I'm thinking like, all right, so I'm the bigger guy. My whole thing is if I get my hands on the smaller guy, he's in trouble. And the smaller guy knows that. And it's like, well, I can't let this guy get his hands on me, because if he does, then I'm in trouble. So I need to try to evade, right? I need, if this guy gets his hands on me, I need to escape somehow. I need to get out of the way, because I know that's the recipe for disaster, and you kind of glossed over the 80-20 thing. And I understand what you're saying as far as that's concerned, like what is 80% versus 20%. But I always think, like, if I'm telling someone 80-20, 70-30 or whatever, it's really just for me to go, hey, I want you to get the majority of the offense, right? When we talk about a squash match and you go, hey, it's going to be 95-5, it's like, this guy is gonna, fight back a little bit, but pretty much just get his ass kicked. I know we don't know, like, oh, I've just hit to the point where I've got 50% of the offense and this guy's got 50% of the offense. I know it's not going to be exactly like that, but I always think that that's, for me, it's always the trying to help tell the story. Like, hey, I don't want this to be an even contest. I want you to be getting the better of this the majority of the time, 60-40 type of, so I don't know. I'm always thinking about a scale, right? Oh, I'm getting this much and you're getting this much. So how much are you getting your ass kicked? How much do you need to sell? How many hope spots do you need to jump in there?
Well, and continue with that, but I just wanted to say real quick that you don't know how much you're getting your ass kicked, because the audience is going to tell you how much you're getting your ass kicked. So a percentage, putting a time on a match, I get putting a restricted time on it, because you're like, get in, get out. We're filming this. We want it quick. We want the show to be over. So no matter what, be here by this point or go home at this fucking point. And it's like, that's the best part about controlling it backstage. And I told the guys that last time, I said, you're going home. Everyone but the last one's going home at 5. And it might not be a real 5. If I start hearing the audience, because I'm out here by the curtain, if I start hearing them rumbling where they need to be, I'm gonna on the microphone, because at prospects, I'm doing and now I'm going to be like 5 minutes have elapsed in the contest. And now you're like, oh, fuck, time for us to go. I'm kind of cheating for you and helping you out. If it's not there yet, maybe my 5 minutes have elapsed in this contest. Is it 6 or 7 minutes? I don't know. And that's what the wrestler has to figure out. So the percentages, and you asked that question, you said 95-5, a little bit of fight back. And that's all you have to tell someone in a squash match is 100%. Don't fight back. This guy's going to get 100% squash on you. He's just going to squash you. And then if you want the guy to fight back, just say fight back. It's a squash, but you can fight back. Meaning everything I do to you, you can keep doing this shit and trying, but I'm going to shut your shit down. And that's, and nobody just explains it like that. But that match layout, because that's, you ask people all the time, hey, baby, wrestle, just competitively wrestle until one guy goes to blows. And they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do it because we have been conditioned to this, just ignoring everything in between. All the stuff I was talking about, all the stuff I was saying I was doing for you Illumide and Jeffrey Excellence, I was doing this stuff in between so you could get over. That's all I was doing, was just selling for you, which is a lost fucking art. Because either everybody oversells like comedy, even though they think they're not, or they don't, or they just register. It's like DDT, here's my favorite. Wham, I hit my head.
Yeah, well, and I think that's it is definitely missing. And we've talked about it so many different times about how we probably need to do a better job of explaining exactly what we're looking for. You know, like we have this understanding in our head about when someone tells you what the match is going to be about, you kind of already know like the story. You know, for me, I think it's easier for me because I'm always going to be so much bigger than everyone else. So the story, for the most part, is going to be very similar. Someone is trying to get away from me, not let me put my hands on them. So for me, it's a little bit easier. But I know, like for you, you're going to have a lot of guys that are very similar in size with you, where now you have to be better at storytelling because it's going to be more of what you were talking about. Like, this guy is the better technical wrestler, so I need to get out wrestled every single time, and this guy needs to almost embarrass me with his wrestling ability versus my lack of wrestling ability. Or it needs to be, you just talked about baby and have a pretty competitive match until somebody gets frustrated. And I think you got to lay those things out for some people. Unfortunately, you go, hey, you guys are both good guys, right? You guys are both trying to do all of the right things. You guys are trying to do the basic of this sport, which is wrestle, right? You guys are trying to do that, but at some point, one of you, and this is the person that I want that to be, is going to get frustrated because they can just never get the upper hand. So they need to take some sort of shortcut to gain that advantage. And now you're establishing the story of what the match is. And it's, I don't know, it's sad to me that that's what we have to do. Is like, hey, you don't understand this, the aspect of this storytelling. So I need to break it down for you and tell you exactly what you need to do. And I think that that's what leads into these people thinking they need to choreograph everything, instead of just going, hey, the fans are seeing that you are out wrestling me, right? So as my character, I need to kind of catch on with that and go, okay, the fans are seeing that I'm getting out wrestled every time. So now, hey, here's my opportunity to now take the shortcut, right?
So. I have not enough people have started listening yet to matter what I'm going to say. But you have no idea. In my head, I've already plotted out me and you down there. And the one thing that I'm capable of doing, I did it with Jacob Fatu years ago at Extreme Measures. And he even asked me, he's like, how are you going to do that for 7 minutes? And I'm like, what? I'm going to do it for 7 minutes. I'm going to work your fucking leg for 7 minutes and they're going to go crazy. And you're going to get up and you're not going to do your double springboard moonsault. And you're not going to do your headstand fucking moonsault. You're not going to do that stuff. Because I'm going to tell this story with you, because I'm going to slide back in and chop block your leg and you're going to take a flip. And then I'm going to viciously work your leg for 7 minutes until you finally move out of the way and create some type of a comeback and catch a surprising win on me at a big show. And he couldn't believe that I was going to do. He's like, he's like, how do I sell? That's what he asked me. How do I sell for that amount of time? I said, don't worry, you'll see. Because a lot of people don't know how to work. They know how to do submission, but they don't know how to literally work the heat with the crowd and the all that stuff with the leg. I'm going to take your fucking leg out, Paul, in front of your family, in front of every single person that when I say that we are not going to wrestle until the building's full, it does not mean that we're not going to have our one-on-one match. It doesn't mean that we're not going to present the match graphic and put it in front of them. We are. And everyone's going to think they're finally going to see you one-on-one with me. And I'm going to fucking take your leg out. And there's going to be a show or two where you don't wrestle because you're on crutches or a walking boot. And while you have those, that's when I'm going to assault you again. And I'm going to send the dogs out on you. And then when I finally get that fucking match with you, your leg isn't going to be at 100%. And you're going to be kicking my fucking ass, and I'm going to kick that knee, or that something's going to happen one time. Maybe you whip me off and hit me with a boot and hurt your leg again. Whether it's I'm probably going to work the left one, since that's the one you put stationary weight on. So when you boot me, fuck my leg, and you start, and now Zach Reeb smells blood in the water, and I hop on the 7-footer's leg, and I start working the fuck out of your leg during that match. And that match becomes Zach Reeb, the heel, working the set. But we set it up so that the psychology, when we finally wrestle, makes sense, that the smaller heel has picked apart this guy's leg strategically to get to this point where the big guy says, I have to wrestle you. I don't care if I'm at 100%. And you're doing exactly what the fans expected you to do to this little piece of shit, Zach Reeb. Slap him in the chest, fucking hit him in the back, barrel him over, slam him, check your leg after the slam because it was a little tender. And then you start wailing on me, off the ropes, go for a boot. You fucking legs start, fuck, his legs hurt. And then you go to the rope to shake it out. And by the time I look over and realize, and you come back to me, I've already realized that leg's hurt, and I go to town on it. And now these fans are watching Big Paul on the mat while an aggressive heel has worked months to hurt this guy's leg and soften it up, and then antagonize him to get him to want to put those crutches down and disobey the doctor's orders of a full recovery. And that's how you keep the story alive and going. That's how Zach Reeb is the heel that puts the heat on Big Paul. Not because I nailed Paul with the big clothesline. And now I'm banking all my money on this reverse chin lock. I'm going to put my knee in your back and twist your neck over. No, it's storytelling. What is our story? We know how it's going to end. That's obvious, right? We're giving this shit away. It ends, you finally nail me and cover me with a deep cover. Could Paul have just put his foot? Could you have just put your foot on me? Yeah. Could you have turned my face and not hooked a leg? But at the end of this all, the respect that you have for everything that I've done over this fucking 2-year period of time, you say, bam, I have to dig in deep, even if he's not kicking out, because this is over. And that's the psychology. That's your promo. You say, I don't care, Zach. I'm not at 100%. And you throw those fucking crutches away and you go, next month, I know I'm not at 100%, but I don't need to be at 100% to beat you. My family has said, Dad, enough is enough. You don't need to be at 100% to beat this little piece of shit. Get the job done. And they're in the promo. Dad, there will be no podcast tomorrow because Zach Reeb, your daughters are motivating you. Dad, there's no podcast tomorrow. Dad's taking the week off because Zach Reeb's going to be in the fucking hospital. And that's what makes wrestling beautiful. And we're not getting that because we're getting, I'm going to hit you with a fucking swoop-de-doop-de. And sell it and get up and German me over the top rope to a table. And it's like, that wouldn't happen in real life. And if it did, you're dead. You're dead or never wrestling again. So let's
Well, you don't right now. You don't realize how good this story is, but I'm going to give you a little insight on how good this story is. We're driving home from the play that I told you we were at last night, and my daughter, we took one of our daughters with us, and she's like, "Hey, Dad, you know, I think I want to come and train to be a wrestler." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool," and stuff like that. So, well, I don't want to train to be a wrestler to train to be a wrestler. I just want to train to be a wrestler because I want to beat up Zack Reeb. And I was just like, yeah, this story is definitely, just like you said, your daughters are going to be involved in the promo. You know, mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're at 100%. You have to get them. You have to do it, right? You know, Dad, if I have to train for a couple years, I will, just so I can get my hands on this guy because I want to beat him up. I was like, yeah, you should. You probably should start training, and you know, because who knows? I might need you to get in there. So,
and I'm gonna let her beat me up.
That was in my mind. I was like, oh, she has no idea. She's just so into Dad, I can't believe you still podcast with this guy. You know, after what he did to you. You know, Dad, are you still hurting from when he hit you with that chair? Remember when he hit you with that chair, Dad?
Oh, God.
Said, yeah, you know, my back still hurts from that.
How long ago was that? That was the start of it.
That was the start of it, yeah. That's so crazy, man. But it's just but it is, and it is definitely the storytelling. It is definitely, you know, you start getting the emotions that people sucked in, right? You talked about, you know, that one of my daughters, like, you've never seen the anger in somebody's face, right? You're like, she knows we're friends, right? She knows that, right? But when she's in the crowd and she's rooting against me, there is nothing but ferocity in those eyes and mm-hmm. anger in the voice. And so it's like, that's the emotion that we're trying to get out of these fans. You know, even if it's just for those 2 hours that the show is happening, right? You want them to get lost in this emotion, and you know, I want this guy to kick this dude's ass, right? And you know, you talked about either one of the last couple of podcasts. It's like, you know, the simplicity of, you know, I am, you know, playing with people's emotions to try to get them to buy tickets to this wrestling show, right? Because I want them to be invested in, I want to buy a ticket because I want to see this guy kick this guy's ass, right? So, but it's just, you know, obviously I'm just visualizing the whole scenario and all these little things, man. You know, all the seeds that have been are being planted and have been planted throughout the course of this whole deal is I don't know. It's coming to fruition, as they say. But it's you know, it's funny, man. You plant the seeds and you go, hey, this is the direction that we're going, and to see that the little things, the little seeds are sprouting, and you're going, okay, so you know what we are trying to accomplish is being accomplished, and you know, people are getting invested. So you know, and that's all you want, man.
That sells
right.
your tickets.
Right.
That makes you the draw. You get the fans there, and you do your job well, and there'll be more fans, and then you become a draw. Then you can you're gonna get more sales one show by putting me versus you. That's not something you do on the fly. That's not something you do at the show from an opening promo. Go, tonight I challenge you guys. Okay, we'll do it tonight. They're already in the building. there no more people are going to come in the building if we go out and cut a promo and then I accept a match tonight. You got to put it, you're the boss. 5. You got to put it on there. You got to say prime time, Paul. And then we can come out and cut a promo and you can come out and I can hurt your leg. Or I can hurt your leg on your weight of the ring. And it never happens. And they go, that fucking piece of shit. He fucked this match that we paid for. And then if you want to get somebody else over, you want to get a Sergio, a Bad News, they fucking help. And them helping puts them up. It puts them up. You know, you said that about the selling the tickets. You know, yeah, we should all get sponsors, right? We all want to get sponsors. We all want investors. But if you're running a show and you're not selling food, if you're not selling food, if you're not selling merchandise, if you're not selling food, merchandise is my killer because I don't have that part figured out yet. All the wrestlers do. I don't. That's my next venture. But if you're not selling merchandise, if you're not selling food, if you're not giving stuff away and having a raffle for it, and most importantly, I am in the business of selling tickets. People ask me, you said it at the start of the podcast. Your wife said, hey, what does he do all day? And you said he runs a wrestling company. My business is selling tickets. My school is my bread and butter. It's my investment into my company. You know, I was talking to Arsonist the other day, and this show's coming up, and they want him to perform and wrestle. And he gave the person a price. And I'm like, I'm paying them half that price to wrestle. But these guys, him and Dawn, they're opening up for too fucking short. He's fucking selling out fucking major arenas. They're opening up for 2. That's their business, right? So like when those guys, whether it's the Limelight song or the Extreme Measures, Last Man Standing, whatever tracks, my own track that they made for me, they're not making it for me. I'm paying them full price to make that song. I'm not asking for a discount. I didn't ask for a discount on that ring we just bought. And me and you talk about it all the time. I'm not asking somebody whose business, I'm not asking them to do that for me for free. I'm not asking them to do that because I'm supporting their business. I've never once, and me and Arsonist were talking about this, I've never once asked Dawn and Arsonist to rap a full set at one of my wrestling shows. I've never exploited that on them. And my agreement with them when I started training them, because they were interested and I'm like, oh, these guys are entertaining. It was, I will train you. I won't even charge you. And then they're like, yeah, and we'll work for you you don't ever have to pay us. We'll just work for you on that end. So, okay. But you know what? Once they were ready to go and they started getting good and holding value and working hard, I just started paying them because that agreement's out the window. This is a business. And if you treat your talent well, that's where loyalty comes from, your talent. And if your talent's loyal to you, then you're loyal back to your talent. And if you're loyal to your talent, they're loyal to you. I say it all the time. If I'm eating top ramen, everyone's eating top ramen. If we're eating steak, we're all eating fucking steak, man. And I'm very excited about me and you because this last run that we got, we're not going to waste it, man. We're not wasting me and you. Me and you isn't happening in my company. Me and you's happening in your company. We're taking people along the ride and elevating everybody else for your company, because that is what if we can give that back to this business to help your business before we're both too old to fucking get out of bed and fucking walk her to the ring, then man, that's one of the things I want to do before I can't do it anymore.
That's it, man. Well, we got just a few days away from Small Town Brawl. in Yerington, Nevada. So Larry's out there busting his ass, man. It's just shout out to Larry, man. That guy's just out there hustling, man, getting people excited about the event, you know, putting posters out, going talking to businesses, getting people excited, man. It's just crazy, man. So getting close to selling out that front row. So
you know, when I think of that, when you're like Larry's out there like getting people excited about the show, I always think like, no, I don't think that. I that did come to mind, the old double fucking shake weight. But I think about Larry meeting strange men at the circus for amateur wrestling matches, and I picture Larry around Yerington with his shirt off and a tight pair of Wranglers or Wrestlers, just like, shows coming up. If I beat you in a wrestling match, you gotta buy a ticket, right? I kind of look at Larry doing that. But no, Larry works his ass off, man, and it's gonna be, and that everyone always judges the first one, man. They're like, oh, the attendance isn't great on the first one. Who gives a shit? Make it better the next time. It's okay to fail, guys. It's okay to fail. Now, if you fail and quit, you're a pussy. If you fail and keep working at it and getting better, that's number one stunner right there. Number one stunner. Man, it is this weekend, huh? We got the Ugly Dojo PCW show coming up. I'm pretty excited about that card that Ugly put together. I know we're a little over time, but hey, man, we can do whatever we want because they haven't bought the podcast yet, Paul. When they buy the podcast, they can flash the lights at us and tell us to stop. But yeah, let's get some subscribers. Let's get some subbies out there. Let's get some old submissive subscribers on here because, guys, we're giving you gold, and we're giving it to you because we like you. Whether you like us or not, we like you, and we want you to subscribe. We want you to hit that button. Don't be afraid to log in and sign up and get a YouTube account so you can hit that subscribe button. Hey, don't be afraid to personally message me or Paul to ask us for tips and advice, because I'll give you a tip all day. And with St. Patrick's Day coming up, do you guys got any Irish wishes? Because maybe Irish these nuts on your chin. Hey, everybody, for Zach Primetime Reeb and the Wrecking Ball Paul Isadora, once again, if you forgot, hit that subscribe button. And once again, if you didn't understand the words that come out of my mouth, hit that subscribe button 3 times. That means you hit it again, you unsubscribe, hit it a 3rd time. Always hit that subscribe button at odd numbers. Odd numbers are good for us. Even means we went from 304 back down to 303. Subscribe, baby. That's what we want. Come on. Give us that 80-20. Give us that 80-20 match that the promoter's looking for. We need some subscriptions over here. And hey, if you're going to tell a story, tell a good one.